June 8th, year 10 at 1:34 a.m. Entry 68, Unwound, Reflections on Continuing Friendship. Again, it's been a while since my last entry, though much has passed that I feel is worthy of mentioning. Me graduating with my associate's degree in psychology, my betraying Chris's trust and helping his boyfriend, a mutual friend of ours, Anthony, revenge cheat, my having two jobs and arguing with my mom over funds and occupations this summer, attending Victor's party and seeing him again, breaking and fixing my Wii, meeting new people, how impressive Bill L was, the changes I feel I've gone through, my resolve for the future, how I feel my body is finally shaping up nicely. Tonight, however, I am writing to discuss my most recent fight with Benjamin. Just so I won't forget the score, we fought Sunday night as well, psychically, and twice today, physically. He slapped me and hit me with a laptop adapter, although that one was on accident, as well as made a scene in front of my house late at night and disturbed my family as well as the peaceful quiet of the neighborhood. All of that leading up from his quote-unquote having a bad day. It's impressive that it progressed so much and so far. However, I feel that though I was prepared for him lashing out at me eventually in his potential psychotic rage due to a pre-existing history of mental instability that I was fully aware of, the fact that he actually did today means that it can and may actually get worse should I choose to remain his friend. That's something I must consider. Do I wish to be friends with someone whose hands I can no longer trust? How did all of this start? He had a bad day. He discussed his emotions with me, my responses and our dynamic, him oversharing his emotions and me countering logically and possibly a bit insensitively, probably made it slightly worse. Then he escalated to hating himself and said he wanted to commit suicide. I tried to help. I suggested that he stay around, but eventually he left and I assumed that was that. Bracket. I guess I should add a side note saying that if someone says that they're going to commit suicide, you should take them seriously and try harder than I did to keep them in your sight or reach. Or in a safe place, even if it's only a mentally or subjectively, for them, safe place. As far as my response, I think I knew Ben well enough to understand whether he was serious or not. End bracket. Later on that same day, we spoke on the phone and things got worse, as per usual. Bracket. It had been an increasing trend between us. I don't know if it was due to his history of mental illness or if it was due to him switching medications or if it was simply due to me getting sick of being that sensitive, caring guy all the time. It takes a lot out of you, you know? End bracket. He called to discuss how hurt he was. I, at first, tried to give advice. He rejected my advice. Bracket, as usual. This was another trend for him back then. He wouldn't let me help him. End bracket. I became indignant and used sarcasm, wit, and irony as my conversational tools. Those set him off, he became worse, and I eventually just gave up. That's the gist of the emotional progression of things. Where that applies to his considering suicide, I feel that it was an emotional attempt to blackmail or manipulate me. Quote unquote, pay attention to me or I'm going to kill myself. Not that anyone actually says that, but that's kind of how it translates. And I'm not going to play his game and be like, oh, poor baby, what's wrong? Don't kill yourself, and there's so much life left to live. If he can't find his own reason for living and enjoying life, then perhaps he's right. Perhaps he shouldn't be alive. Seems logical enough to me. Bracket. I didn't mean that he should kill himself, but I felt he was making a mountain out of a molehill. I know it's hard sometimes, but there are plenty of reasons to live life. A person may not always feel this way, and it's at those times that they need a little help, but up until this point, I had been giving him a lot of help. It was nearly a constant effort that took almost all of my energy and niceness and twisted it so that I was bitter and sarcastic. This happened like clockwork. I was mostly used to it by this point, which was why I had laughed in the previous paragraph. End bracket. The funny thing was, it wasn't even that serious. He was having a bad day. I tried to help. I failed and he went home. In spite of that, even when he called to talk to me, he came over again and we had a discussion on things. It still wasn't that serious. He got all weepy, over emotional, and belligerent, etc. again. and it still wasn't that serious. And then he hit me, and it became serious. I seriously have to reconsider whether I want him in my life now or not, and if so, to what extent. Another thing worthy of note was that Josh canceled on me today. It was late, he said. I suppose that was reasonable, but I found out that Ben called Josh and told him he was coming to kick my ass or something, even if only verbally. I have strong reason to believe that Josh canceled because of whatever Ben said, which is another major no-no. I have told Ben that I need time to think, a week at most. Bracket, on whether I want to still be his friend or not. End bracket. Perhaps I shall consult the tarot and see what lay in store.